Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I will show you how I built my mid-drive 2000 watt e-bike while making it as cheap as possible. I started by designing in CAD the bike's frame with the help of some profile photos. Then added the motor, the gearbox, the battery and other stuff. If anyone wants it, there's a link in the description. We start on the lathe because there are a lot of round parts. This here is the main shaft that will power the chain. Now to some milling on my homemade CNC. If you want to know more about it, there's a video on my channel. This is the gearbox housing. And now some more machining. Here I'm modifying a bottom bracket shaft. This is to later install a one-way bearing and the crankshaft assembly. This is the gear that will be attached to the electric motor. And now an overview with a lot of parts already made and some bearings, some gaskets. This is the cover of the housing of the gearbox itself, some supports, the electric motor. This is a drone motor, a chain, and the one-way bearing assembly with also the sprockets. This is one of the two one-way bearings. This one will be on the gearbox. It's there to prevent you rotating the motor while pedaling. This is the secondary shaft. It's to transmit power from the motor to the main shaft. This is the housing cover. This part here will hold the second one-way bearing and will hold also the sprockets. This motor here is from a big drone and can deliver up to 3000 watts of power. I also had to modify the rotor shaft a little bit to accept this thread. And now to install the bearings, I will heat up the housing with my hot air gun and hopefully they will just slide in. And now the same for the housing cover. Here I'm pressing the one-way bearing on the main gear. I also added some oil seals because I will add some oil to this gearbox. Same on the cover. Here you can see how the one-way bearing works. It allows rotation in one direction, but it locks on the opposite. Now for the second one-way bearing, there's the same process of heating it up and then pressing it in place. Now onto the bike, we start by removing the bottom bracket and get ready to assemble the new one. Here at first I tried to install two sprockets and then trying to mount it up on the bike, but then I realized I don't have enough space. You will see later. This one-way bearing here is there to allow the motor to power the front sprocket while having your pedals stopped. Now some more 3D printed parts. This is the battery supports, the battery, the motor supports and the controller support. Here I'm test fitting the battery clips. This is how the battery will snap onto the frame. These are the motor mounts. First I use the 3D printed mounts and then the aluminium ones. Later I switch to all aluminium. This is my first mistake. Somehow during the design I thought that the sprockets were on the left side of the bike. Maybe because I am used to work on motorcycles and all of mine have the chain on the left side. The problem here is that the gear that is attached to the motor is threaded onto the motor shaft with a normal right-handed thread. And because the sprockets are on the right side, the motor as it spins unscrews the gear, which means I have to change the thread for a left-hand thread, as I'm doing here. This change needs to be made both on the motor rotor and also on the gear shaft. And now with the left hand thread, the gear shouldn't unscrew. With everything assembled, it's time for some oil onto the gearbox. As you can see here, I left only one sprocket because I didn't have space for the two. Now onto the battery. This is a 14S 4P, which gives us a voltage of 52 volts and 20 amp hours with 21700 lithium ion cells. Here's a clip of how I placed the nickel strips and spotted welded each one. I have also added a battery management system to help protect the cells and balance them. Here the bike is finished and ready for some testing. And after the first test ride, the one-way bearing on the gearbox failed and no longer rotates. It's locked in position. To fix this, I designed and built a ratchet mechanism on the main gear. This mechanism works by having small teethed-like parts and small springs that push them against a shaft with grooves. Same as the one-way bearing, it lets rotation on one direction and stops on the other. I have also built a small display using an Arduino and a 2004 LCD. The Arduino gets values from the motor controller, which is a VESC 6, then makes some calculations and displays speed, battery info, average consumption, range, and distance traveled. And now I will leave you with some clips of me riding it.